Did Lilith create a race of children before Eve? What are these children? Who were they? And what does their existence mean for the story of humanity? Get ready to explore a tale of rebellion, dark offspring, and a mystery hidden in the margins of ancient scripture. According to ancient Jewish folklore, Lilith was not an afterthought but the very first woman, created at the same time and from the same earth as Adam. Unlike Eve, who was fashioned from Adam's rib and positioned as his helper, Lilith was Adam's equal in both origin and status. But this equality bred conflict. When Adam demanded Lilith submit to his authority, she refused, declaring that since they were made from the same earth, she would not be beneath him. Her rebellion was not just a personal act of defiance, it challenged the very order God had established in Eden. Unable to coexist under Adam's rule, Lilith chose to leave the garden altogether, becoming the first human to reject divine command and social hierarchy. This departure marked the beginning of a legend that would ripple through centuries, one that questions the nature of creation, obedience, and freedom. Lilith's flight from Eden was no ordinary escape. According to legend, she invoked the ineffable name of God, the sacred, unutterable Tetragrammaton, which gave her the power to break free from divine authority. In ancient Jewish tradition, this name was considered so holy that even pronouncing it was forbidden for most. Lilith's use of it was both an act of profound rebellion and supernatural empowerment. By speaking the name, she transcended the boundaries set for her and claimed independence from Adam, God, and the natural order. This act transformed her from a mere woman into a demonic figure, feared as much for her power as for her defiance. Her escape to the wilderness was not just physical but spiritual, carrying with it a curse and a legacy that would haunt humanity for generations to come. After fleeing Eden, Lilith is said to have taken refuge by the mysterious and desolate shores of the Red Sea, a place long associated with chaos, exile, and the supernatural. It was here, according to ancient texts like the alphabet of Ben Sira and later mystical writings, that Lilith mated with fallen angels or demons, giving birth to a vast progeny of dark spirits. These were not human children, but rather a race of demons, spirits of disease, misfortune, and seduction, each embodying a fragment of her rebellious nature. This terrifying brood was believed to roam the night, threatening newborn infants, women in childbirth, and men in their sleep. The legend of Lilith's offspring served as an explanation for the dangers of the night and the unknown, a way for ancient peoples to personify and understand infant mortality, illness, and other fears that science had yet to unravel. This dark lineage positioned Lilith not only as a rebel but as the mother of chaos itself, a stark contrast to Eve, the mother of all living. Lilith's children, often described in mystical texts and folklore, are far from ordinary offspring. They are depicted as demonic beings, spirits of darkness and mischief that embody the fears of ancient societies. These entities were believed to cause illness, infant mortality, nightmares, and seduction, roaming the night in search of vulnerable souls. Some traditions describe them as Lilim, winged creatures born from Lilith's union with fallen angels or dark spirits, carrying her rebellious essence. They are neither human nor divine but occupy a terrifying liminal space as malevolent forces disrupting the order of creation. These children symbolize the very chaos Lilith unleashed upon leaving Eden, acting as agents of her curse and eternal defiance. The belief in their existence fueled protective rituals, amulets, and prayers aimed at shielding newborns and women from their harmful influence, making them central figures in ancient spiritual warfare. The story of Lilith's children isn't found in the canonical Bible but emerges primarily from ancient Jewish mystical and folkloric texts. The alphabet of Ben Sira, dating from the early medieval period, provides the earliest detailed narrative of Lilith as Adam's first wife and mother of demons. Other key sources include the Zohar, a foundational work of Kabbalah, which expands on Lilith's role as a night demon and the progenitor of evil spirits. Talmudic references, though more cryptic, hint at her malevolent influence and offspring without elaborating fully. Additionally, apocryphal writings and medieval grimoires echo and amplify these themes, weaving a complex tapestry of stories that blend theology, myth, and cultural fears. Archaeological finds like incantation bowls inscribed with protective prayers against Lilith and her children further attest to the deep cultural penetration of this legend. Though absent from the Bible, these sources show how Lilith's narrative grew into a powerful mythos that shaped Jewish spirituality and beyond. The idea that Lilith created a race of children before Eve challenges the traditional biblical account of humanity's origins and raises profound theological questions. If Lilith's offspring existed, what does that say about the nature of humanity and sin? Are these children fallen beings outside of God's covenant, representing spiritual corruption from the very beginning? This narrative introduces a parallel lineage, one rooted in rebellion and darkness, contrasting sharply with Eve's role as the mother of all living and the bearer of salvation history. It forces us to grapple with concepts of free will, the origin of evil, and the spiritual battles underlying human existence. Moreover, it challenges the simplicity of the Eden story, suggesting a cosmic struggle that began before Eve's creation and continues to influence the spiritual realm today. Such theological reflections invite deeper exploration of how ancient myths and scripture interact to shape beliefs about sin, redemption, and the human condition. Lilith's children symbolize more than literal beings. They embody ancient humanity's deepest fears and mysteries. In a world plagued by high infant mortality, unexplained illnesses, and the dangers of childbirth, these demonic offspring personified the invisible threats lurking in the night. They were metaphors for chaos, death, and disorder that no one could control or predict. By attributing such horrors to a dark race born of rebellion, ancient cultures could explain tragedy in a way that gave it meaning and a target for spiritual defense. These children also represented the untamed, chaotic feminine, wild forces of nature and sexuality that society sought to contain. Their presence in folklore underscored a worldview where the spiritual and physical realms intertwined, and where cosmic battles had direct effects on everyday life. Ultimately, Lilith's children stood as vivid symbols of the consequences of rebellion against divine order, warning communities of the dangers that arise when the sacred balance is broken. The fear of Lilith's children wasn't just a story, it was a lived reality that shaped the spiritual practices of countless ancient households. Across Jewish communities, especially during the Talmudic and medieval periods, the threat of Lilith and her demonic offspring gave rise to a wide range of protective rituals and magical defenses. Amulets inscribed with the names of protective angels, Saint-Ouen, Saint-Sanoy, and Samangeloff, were hung above cribs and doorways to guard newborns from being snatched away by Lilith's brood. Midwives and mothers would recite incantations or place small bowls inscribed with protective prayers near the child, believing these would block the influence of evil spirits. In many depictions, Lilith's children were seen lurking near the threshold of homes, especially during the vulnerable period after childbirth. Some folklore even described them as invisible shadows watching from the corners, waiting for a moment of spiritual weakness. These practices weren't viewed as superstition. They were spiritual warfare rooted in tradition and fear. Lilith's children weren't just symbolic. To the people who made these amulets and whispered these prayers, they were real threats, and protecting against them became an urgent, sacred duty. Lilith's children may be unique to Jewish folklore in name, but the concept of a rebellious mother figure birthing a race of dangerous or supernatural offspring appears across many cultures. In Mesopotamian mythology, Lilith is often linked to Lilitu or Lamashtu, female spirits who haunted homes, stole infants, and seduced men in their sleep. Like Lilith, these figures were believed to have spawned hordes of malicious beings that plagued humanity. In Greek mythology, Lamia was cursed by Hera and transformed into a child-eating demon after bearing children with Zeus. Her grief and fury were said to birth monstrous descendants. In Islamic folklore, similar ideas emerge with Al-Qarina, a female jinn who harms newborns and is believed to be linked to women's spiritual vulnerabilities. Even in Slavic myth, entities like Rusalka and Baba Yaga echo aspects of Lilith's archetype, dangerous feminine figures with mysterious origins and generational influence. These cross-cultural parallels show that the fear of a feminine force outside divine order, producing offspring that carry chaos into the world, is not limited to one tradition. Instead, it reflects a universal concern with protecting life, order, and purity from unseen spiritual threats, and demonstrates how Lilith's legend belongs to a broader mythological landscape of dark mothers and cursed children. In the modern era, Lilith and her alleged children have undergone a dramatic transformation, moving from symbols of spiritual danger to icons of rebellion, power, and misunderstood femininity. In feminist thought, Lilith is often reclaimed as a figure of empowerment, the woman who refused to submit, and her children are reimagined not as demons, but as outcasts, free spirits, or even metaphorical daughters of Lilith, who embody independence and defiance against patriarchal systems. In neo-paganism and occult traditions, Lilith's children are sometimes invoked in rituals, described as spiritual entities tied to passion, sexuality, or mystical knowledge. Meanwhile, in pop culture, Lilith and her offspring appear in comic books, video games, and television shows, often glamorized as anti-heroes, seductresses, or the cursed but powerful first family of darkness. However, this modern embrace often forgets or rewrites the darker context from which the legend came. The original stories portrayed Lilith's children as dangerous, chaotic, and outside the boundaries of divine blessing. Today, that nuance is sometimes lost, flattened into either villainy or empowerment, depending on the audience. This shift reveals a deeper truth: myths evolve with culture. What was once feared is now questioned. What was once hidden is now spotlighted. And the children of Lilith, once whispered about in the night, now walk boldly across pages, screens, and spiritual discourse, reshaped by the needs, values, and imaginations of every generation. So, did Lilith create a race of children before Eve? In the literal, historical sense, perhaps not. But in the realm of myth, symbolism, and spiritual imagination, she absolutely did. These stories were never just about demonic genealogy. They were ways for ancient people to make sense of suffering, to personify the mysterious tragedies of life: miscarriage, infant death, spiritual oppression, and forbidden desire. Lilith's children became the embodiment of everything unpredictable and painful, the things that crept in when no one was watching. And yet the legend also reveals something else: a deep human need to name the chaos, to understand it, to defend against it, and in modern times, even to reframe it. Whether seen as monsters or metaphors, Lilith's offspring represent a crack in the perfect world, born of rebellion, wrapped in myth, and passed down through generations in prayers, warnings, and whispered lullabies. In the end, the question isn't just whether Lilith had children, it's why the story of her children has never died. Because hidden beneath the surface of this ancient tale lies something timeless: our struggle with darkness, with disobedience, with the cost of freedom, and the haunting possibility that not all origin stories begin with light.